No one there knew who she was. Not the people walking past. Not the security guards by the entrance. Not even the man whose anger was about to change everything. To them, she was just another young girl, casually dressed, laughing with her friends, enjoying an ordinary day like anyone else. Nothing about her screamed, important. Nothing about her said, protected. Nothing about her warned what was coming. And that's why it happened. It started with noise. Raised voices. A man pushing through the crowd like the world owed him space. Impatient. Aggressive. Unchecked. She didn't see him coming. He didn't care that she was there. The moment their paths crossed, the atmosphere shifted. A sharp word. A harsh movement. A sudden escalation no one was ready for. People turned their heads. Someone gasped. Someone froze. And then, a scream. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just raw. The kind of sound that makes your chest tighten before your mind understands why. She was on the ground. Not moving. Her friends rushed toward her. Strangers stepped back in shock. The noise of the place dropped into a heavy, uncomfortable silence. And the man. He stood there. Breathing hard. Confused. As if even he didn't believe what he had just done. No one was filming yet. No one was shouting. No one knew what to say. Because in that moment, it wasn't a viral clip. It wasn't a headline. It was just a young girl in pain, and a crowd realizing something had gone very wrong. Still, nobody knew. Nobody knew that the world would care about this story. Nobody knew that this name would soon echo far beyond these walls. Nobody knew that this wasn't just another incident. Because the truth hadn't landed yet. The truth that would change how everyone saw this moment. The truth that would turn fear into regret. Confidence into panic. Arrogance into silence. The truth was simple and devastating. She wasn't just anyone. She was Manny Pacquiao's daughter. And in a few moments, the man who lost control was going to understand exactly what that meant. Engagement. Soft. Natural. Have you ever seen something happen in public and instantly felt, this is going to be serious? Before anything went wrong, everything felt normal. The place was busy, alive with movement and sound. People walking in groups, laughter echoing, music playing softly in the background. A regular day. The kind that blends into memory. The kind no one thinks twice about. She was there with her friends, relaxed, smiling, completely at ease. No cameras. No bodyguards. No special treatment. Just a young girl enjoying a simple day out, dressed casually, blending in like everyone else. To the world, she was just another face in the crowd. Her friends teased each other, took pictures, talked about nothing important. Plans for later. Jokes that didn't matter. The kind of conversations that only exist in moments of comfort. There was no tension. No warning. No sense of danger. People passed by without noticing her. Parents guided their children. Couples held hands. Shoppers checked their phones. Life moved in its usual rhythm. Even the security guards looked bored. Another shift. Another day. Nothing unusual. And that's the dangerous part. Because moments like this feel safe. They feel harmless. They feel predictable. No one expects anything bad to happen when everything looks fine. Across the space, the man was already irritated. You could see it in the way he walked. Fast, sharp, impatient. Like every person in front of him was an obstacle. Like the world was moving too slowly for him. He was bigger than most. Loud without speaking. Carrying an attitude that didn't care who noticed. He bumped shoulders. Didn't apologize. Someone looked back. He stared them down. People moved aside. Not because they respected him, but because they didn't want trouble. And he liked that. He liked the space. He liked the silence that followed him. He liked the small fear he created without even trying. That kind of confidence is dangerous, because it grows unchecked. Meanwhile, she laughed. Her head tilted back slightly as her friend whispered something. Her smile was natural, carefree, unaware of anything around her except the moment she was in. She wasn't watching him. She wasn't avoiding anyone. She wasn't on guard. Why would she be? Nothing had ever given her a reason to be. That's the thing about normal life. It tricks you into thinking you're safe. The man moved through the crowd with force, cutting corners, pushing past people without excuse. A woman turned sideways to let him through. A teenager stepped back quickly. A couple broke their conversation to avoid him. No one challenged him. Not because he was right, but because it was easier not to. And that fed his ego. He lifted his chin slightly, straightened his shoulders, claimed the space like it belonged to him. Still, no one noticed the path he was on. Not her. Not her friends. Not the people around them. They were in different worlds. She was in laughter. He was in irritation. She was in peace. He was in pressure. Two paths moving closer without knowing. Her friend stopped suddenly to look at something. She followed. They slowed down. He didn't. He was moving too fast. Too focused. Too careless. And in that small moment, in that tiny space between attention and distraction, their worlds collided. But right before it happened, everything was still normal. No raised voices. No drama. No tension. Just noise. Movement. Life. That's why no one reacted fast. That's why no one intervened. That's why no one was ready. Because when danger doesn't announce itself, it arrives quietly. And when it does, it feels unreal. The kind of unreal that freezes people. The kind of unreal that makes seconds feel heavy. No one could see what was about to happen. No one could feel the shift coming. Because nothing in that moment suggested that this day, this ordinary, forgettable day, was about to become unforgettable. And that's what makes it tragic. Not the impact, not the pain, but the fact that it came from a place that looked so safe. Most confrontations don't begin with anger. They begin with comfort. And comfort is where people let their guard down. The sound of her hitting the ground didn't fade. It stayed, echoing, in the minds of everyone watching. Her friends dropped to their knees beside her, panic written across their faces. One reached for her shoulder. Another held her hand. "Don't move," someone said. "Call for help," another voice shouted. She tried to sit up. And then she cried out. Sharp. Sudden. Uncontrolled. The kind of sound that doesn't come from fear, but from pain. Her face tightened. Her eyes squeezed shut. Tears spilled without warning. She clutched her arm instinctively, holding it close to her body like it no longer belonged. The crowd reacted. People rushed forward. Others stepped back. Someone covered their mouth in shock. The energy shifted again. This wasn't tension anymore. This was emergency. A man knelt beside her. "Don't move your arm," he said gently. "Just breathe." Her friends were shaking. One of them was already on the phone, voice breaking as she tried to explain. "Please hurry. She's hurt." "I don't know. Her arm." The words tangled in panic. And in the middle of it all, he stood there. The man who had shoved her. Frozen. He stared at her on the ground like he didn't recognize the scene. Like he was trying to rewind the last few seconds in his head. His chest rose and fell. Fast. Uneven. The confidence that had filled his posture moments ago was gone. Replaced by something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. His hands hovered at his sides. Not clenched. Not relaxed. Lost. People began to look at him. Not with fear. Not with hesitation. With judgment. A woman shook her head slowly. A man whispered, "What's wrong with you?" The whispers grew. Low. Heavy. Disapproving. He felt it. The shift. He swallowed. For the first time, his eyes dropped. He took a step back. Then another. Not in control anymore. Not dominant. Defensive. The reality of the situation was sinking in. This wasn't an argument. This wasn't posturing. This wasn't nothing. A girl was on the ground in pain. And he was the reason. Her breathing was shallow. Her lips trembled as she tried not to cry. Her friend brushed hair away from her face. It's okay, help is coming, she whispered. But her own voice was shaking. She looked around, eyes searching. Confused. Afraid. Like she didn't understand how a normal moment had turned into this. Like she was still trying to process it. People circled them now. Not close. But close enough. A silent wall. Watching. Waiting. No one was filming yet. No one was thinking about fame or names. They were thinking about her. About the pain. About the shock. About the wrongness of it. And he could feel it. That pressure. That weight. He opened his mouth as if to speak. Then closed it. What could he say? Sorry. Would that change anything? Would that undo what had just happened? He looked at her arm. The way she held it. The way she wouldn't move it. His jaw tightened. Regret flickered across his face. Not loud. Not dramatic. But real. Because some moments don't give you time to prepare. They hit you all at once. The consequences. The eyes. The silence. A security guard pushed through the crowd. What happened here? He asked. No one answered at first. Then someone said, he pushed her. Another voice added, she fell. A third, sharper, he grabbed her. All eyes turned to him. He felt it. The shift. From irritation to isolation. He straightened slightly. Instinct. Defensive again. But it didn't work. Because now he wasn't the loud one. He was the wrong one. The guard looked at him. Then at her. Then back at him. Sir, step aside, he said. He hesitated. Just a second. Then moved. Slowly. Almost unwillingly. As if he hadn't fully accepted what was happening. Her friends watched him with anger. One of them glared openly. Why did you touch her? She snapped. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because there was no good answer. Her breathing hitched again. A fresh wave of pain crossed her face. She squeezed her eyes shut. The man who had knelt beside her earlier said quietly, I think her arm is injured. The words landed. Heavy. Permanent. The crowd reacted. A few gasps. A few sharp inhales. Someone muttered, Oh my God! And that's when it really hit him. Not when she fell. Not when people stared. But when he realized. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't small. This wasn't going to disappear when he walked away. He had changed something. And he couldn't undo it. His shoulders dropped. Just a little. The fight left his posture. Replaced by something quieter. Fear. Because deep down, he knew. He had crossed a line. And whatever came next, he wasn't ready for it. There is a moment when anger realizes it has gone too far. And in that moment, it becomes fear. The silence didn't last long. It broke into pieces. Whispers first. Then voices. Then movement. People stepped closer, curiosity fighting concern. Others stepped back, not wanting to be involved. The circle around her tightened. Someone knelt on the other side, asking softly, Can you move your fingers? She tried. And stopped. Her face tightened again. A sharp breath escaped her. No, it hurts, she whispered. Her friend squeezed her hand, trying to stay calm, trying not to panic. It's okay, just don't move. Help is coming, she said, but her eyes were wet. A security guard spoke into his radio, low and urgent. Medical assistance needed immediately. His tone told everyone this was serious. The man stood a few steps away now. Alone. No one near him. No one beside him. The space around him was empty. Not because people were scared, but because they didn't want to stand with him. He noticed. He shifted his weight. Looked around. The same crowd that had ignored him earlier now watched him closely. Judging. Measuring. He swallowed. His mouth opened as if to say something, then closed again. What could he say? I didn't mean it. I lost my temper. Excuses don't sound strong when someone is on the ground in pain. A woman near the front shook her head slowly. A man muttered, "Unbelievable." The words cut. Not loud, but sharp. He felt smaller now. Not physically, but socially. Isolated. A security guard stepped in front of him. "Sir, I need you to stay right here." The tone was firm. Not aggressive, but final. He nodded. Too quickly. As if afraid to argue. The power he had carried earlier was gone. Replaced by compliance. Her breathing was still uneven. Short. Careful. Like she was afraid any movement would make it worse. Her friend spoke to her softly, one on each side. "You're okay. Just breathe. Don't move." But they were lying. Not to her. To themselves. Because they didn't know. No one did. That uncertainty hung in the air. Heavy. People whispered. "Is her arm broken?" That looked bad. He shouldn't have touched her. The comments stacked. Layer after layer. Each one adding pressure. The man heard some of them. He looked down. Avoided eye contact. The ground suddenly seemed very interesting. A paramedic pushed through the crowd. "Make some space, please." The words carried authority. The crowd parted. She looked up, relief flickering across her face. The paramedic knelt, calm and focused. "Hi, I'm here. Can you tell me where it hurts?" She pointed weakly at her arm. He nodded. "Okay. Don't move. Just breathe. I've got you." Professional. Steady. Reassuring. He examined carefully, not rushing, not alarming. Her face tightened again. He noticed. "Easy," he said. Slow breaths. Her friend wiped tears from her own cheeks. The paramedic looked up at the security guard. "We need to get her to the hospital." The words landed like a weight. Hospital. Serious. Permanent. The man's head lifted. His eyes widened slightly. This wasn't just a scare. This wasn't something that would fade in minutes. This was real. A woman near him whispered, "He did this." Not loudly, but clearly. He flinched. A man on the other side said, "He should be ashamed." He heard that too. His jaw tightened. He didn't respond. He couldn't. Because the truth was undeniable. Her friends glared at him. Not shouting. Not screaming. Just hard. Cold. Angry. One of them said, "Why did you touch her?" The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. He looked at her. Then looked away. No answer. Because there wasn't one that would help. The paramedic signaled for the stretcher. 2 more responders arrived. The crowd grew quieter. Watching. Waiting. Phones began to come out. Not many. But a few. The shift had started. People sensed this was something. Not just a fight. Not just an argument. Something bigger. The man noticed the phones. His shoulders stiffened. A flicker of panic crossed his face. He wasn't in control of the narrative anymore. He wasn't in control of anything. The paramedics lifted her carefully. She winced but didn't scream. Strong. Trying to be. Her friend stood close, refusing to leave her side. The stretcher rolled. Slow. Careful. The crowd opened. People stared. Some with concern. Some with anger. Some with shock. All eyes followed her. Not him. And that hurt. Because attention had shifted. The focus was on her pain. On her vulnerability. On what had happened. And he was the reason. He stood there. Useless. Helpless. Exposed. The security guard placed himself slightly in front of him. "Stay here," he repeated. This time, it wasn't a request. It was an order. He nodded again. Smaller now. Quieter. The space around him felt tight. Not physically, but socially. The weight of eyes. The weight of judgment. The weight of consequence. And deep down, something else was growing. Not anger. Not pride. Fear. Because he could feel it. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. Engagement question. Do you think he understood in that moment that his life was about to change? The crowd didn't move. Even as the stretcher rolled away, people stayed. Watching. Whispering. Processing. The air was thick. Not with noise. With tension. The man stood where security had told him to stand. Hands at his sides. Shoulders tight. He avoided looking at anyone. Because now, everyone was looking at him. A woman near the front leaned toward her friend. Did you see how hard she fell? Her friend nodded. That wasn't an accident. The words reached him. He swallowed. His throat felt dry. He shifted his weight again, like he couldn't get comfortable in his own skin. A security guard spoke into his radio quietly. Another stood nearby, watching him closely. He wasn't being restrained. He wasn't being touched. But he was being contained. And he felt it. That invisible boundary. The one you can't cross. The paramedics were still visible in the distance, moving carefully, her friends walking beside the stretcher. One of them looked back. Her eyes met his. For just a second. There was no fear in them. No hesitation. Only anger. Pure. Sharp. Undiluted. He looked away instantly. His jaw clenched. Regret twisted in his chest. Not because of who she was. Because of what he had done. A man stepped forward from the edge of the crowd. Not aggressive. Not loud. Calm. Controlled. He looked at the security guard. Then at him. Then back at the guard. Do you know who she is? He asked quietly. The question floated. Unanswered. The guard frowned slightly. No, sir. The man inhaled. She's Manny Pacquiao's daughter. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed. Heavy. Final. The effect was immediate. The security guard's expression changed. Not shock. Not panic. Recognition. Understanding. He looked at the man again. Slower this time. More careful. The man noticed the shift. The way the guard's posture straightened. The way his tone softened, but grew serious. The way his eyes sharpened. The man felt it before he understood it. That something had just changed. Excuse me, he said. His voice was smaller than he expected. The man repeated it. Clear. Unmistakable. She's Manny Pacquiao's daughter. The world tilted. Not literally, but inside him. The words processed slowly. Like his mind didn't want to accept them. He blinked. Once. Twice. No response. No reaction. Just stillness. The crowd reacted before he did. A few gasps. A few sharp inhales. A few murmurs. Wait, what? Did he say? Are you serious? The energy shifted. Again. But this time, differently. He felt it. The weight. The sudden attention. The gravity. He finally looked up. His eyes were wide now. Not angry. Not defiant. Uncertain. Confused. And beneath that, fear. Real fear. Because even if he didn't know much about boxing, he knew the name. Everyone did. Manny Pacquiao. Champion. Legend. National hero. Respected. Powerful. Connected. The name alone carried weight. And now that name was attached to the girl he had shoved. The girl on the stretcher. The girl in pain. The girl he had lost control over. His breathing changed. Shallower. Faster. His lips parted slightly. He tried to speak. And nothing came out. The security guard looked at him again. This time, there was no neutrality. There was seriousness. Procedure. Responsibility. He spoke into his radio. Low. Controlled. But urgent. The man's heart dropped. He could feel it. The shift in authority. The tightening of the situation. This wasn't just a complaint anymore. This wasn't just a disturbance. This was serious. The man who had delivered the news looked at him steadily. Not with anger. Not with threats. With disappointment. The worst kind. The kind that doesn't need words. You should have kept your hands to yourself, he said quietly. No shouting. No drama. Just truth. The words hit harder than any insult. The man's shoulders dropped. Just a little. His confidence gone. His posture broken. He nodded. Not in agreement. In surrender. The crowd whispered. Louder now. Did you hear that? That's Pacquiao's daughter. Man. He messed up. Big mistake. The words stacked. Each one heavier than the last. He closed his eyes for a moment. Just a moment. As if hoping this wasn't real. As if hoping he could rewind. But reality doesn't rewind. Reality only moves forward. And it was moving fast. The security guard stepped closer. Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me. The tone was calm. Professional. Unavoidable. He didn't argue. He didn't resist. He didn't even ask why. He just nodded. Again. Slowly. The man who had once walked through the crowd like he owned the space, now walked like he was borrowing it. Carefully. Quietly. Aware of every eye. Every whisper. Every judgment. As he moved, people parted. Not in respect. In distance. No one wanted to be near him. The truth had changed everything. Not because of fame. Not because of power. But because now, the world was watching. And he knew it. Deep down. He knew this wasn't ending quietly. This wasn't fading away. This wasn't going to be forgotten. Because he hadn't just hurt a girl. He had touched a name the world protects. And that realization was breaking him. Respect should be given before it's forced. But some people only learn when the weight of a name falls on them. The crowd didn't cheer. No claps. No laughter. No sense of relief. There was only silence. Heavy. Tight. Unforgettable. The stretcher rolled slowly, carrying her away. Her friends stayed beside her, offering comfort, hands gripping tightly. Every step measured. Every movement careful. They didn't speak, but their eyes said everything. Worry, anger, disbelief. The man who had caused all of this was still standing. Alone. Cornered. Not by force, but by consequence. He had no one beside him. No support. No justification. Only himself and the weight of what he had done. Security followed closely, escorting him quietly away from the crowd. Their tone was professional, but firm. There was no room for argument, no room for excuses. This wasn't about conflict anymore. It was about accountability. He walked slowly, head down, eyes fixed on the ground. Each step heavy, each breath shallow. The reality of the situation settling on him like a stone. The whispers followed him. Did you see who she was? Manny Pacquiao's daughter. He's in trouble now. Every word hit like a reminder. The world had changed in the blink of an eye, and he had no control over it. Meanwhile, the girl, surrounded by her friends and medical professionals, kept her composure as best as she could. Her arm hurt. Her pride hurt. Her heart raced. But she was alive. She was protected. And she was safe. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The person who thought he had power had none. The person who thought he controlled the situation had lost everything. And yet, there were no loud confrontations. No chaos. No fights. Just consequences. Real. Immediate. Unavoidable. The paramedics lifted her carefully into the ambulance. Her friends stayed with her until the doors closed. The engine started. Lights flashed. And she was gone from the scene. The crowd slowly dispersed. People shook their heads. Some whispered about how reckless he had been. Some talked about how serious the situation could have become. The man remained in place for a moment longer. Alone. Cornered. Reflecting. The lesson had landed. And then, the whispers began to spread beyond the mall. Phones were out. People shared what they had witnessed. A story started to take shape. Not because of violence. Not because of drama. But because of the lesson. Because what happened wasn't just an accident. It wasn't just a minor confrontation. It was a powerful reminder of respect, responsibility, and the consequences of arrogance. By nightfall, the story had gone viral. Not because she was hurt. Not because of the anger of the crowd. But because of what didn't happen. No retaliation. No chaos. No uncontrolled rage. Instead, there had been a moment of clarity. Arrogance meets consequence. Disrespect meets accountability. Power without responsibility is meaningless. People shared the story for the lesson. For the reminder. For the warning. And somewhere, far from the scene, Manny Pacquiao himself learned of what had happened. The public learned of it too. The man who had thought he could act without consequence was now infamous. Not for being physically defeated. Not for being humiliated. But for making a mistake that would be remembered. And the girl, she recovered. Not just from the physical pain, but from the fear of the moment. She learned something too. That the world can be dangerous. That not everyone respects boundaries. But that protection exists. That people care. And that consequences come swiftly. The moral of the story was clear. Power isn't about strength. Power isn't about size. Power isn't about arrogance or anger. Power is about responsibility. About respect. About knowing that every action has a reaction. And that some mistakes are too big to be ignored. The strongest person in any room isn't the one who shouts the loudest. It isn't the one who moves fastest. It isn't the one who thinks they own the space. It's the one who knows the value of control. The one who acts with awareness. The one who understands consequences. By the next morning, videos and stories of the incident were everywhere. People debated it, analyzed it, commented. But the takeaway was universal. Respect matters. Actions have consequences. And no one, no matter how reckless, is above accountability. The man learned it the hard way. The girl survived because of timing, presence, and protection. And the world watched and learned too. If you believe respect should always come before arrogance, type respect in the comments. And tell me, would you have had the courage to stay calm in that moment?